AMD announced a new series of CPU/APUs designed specifically for handheld gaming PCs, and I could not be more excited. AMD Ryzen Z1, starting with the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme, will be system-on-chip APUs with both AMD Zen 4 CPU architecture and RDNA 3 GPU architecture. The first system you're going to see this in is the Asus ROG Ally, which is starting to hit the market now. Now, why are these CPUs cool? I feel in some of the handhelds, they've been putting too much TDP towards CPU and not enough TDP towards GPU. So they have a 28 watt TDP. They're putting 8 cores and 16 threads, which is honestly more than just about any game needs these days. You could probably run most games with 6 core. So that's what the Z1 has done. They have allocated 6 cores and 12 threads with 4 iGPU cores and up to 2.8 teraflops of gaming performance. The Z1 Extreme will have 8 cores, 16 threads, and 12 core iGPU. Also based on RDNA 3 with 8.6 teraflops of potential total performance. Now again, on the Z1 Extreme, I would like to see these numbers slanted ever so slightly more towards the GPU. Give me a 16-core iGPU and a 6-core CPU.
Well, if they were to do that, wouldn't that be them hinting more toward this is more of your handheld PC? That was my thought.
Yes.
This is your, all-in-one. This is more of a mobile PC that can game, and it looks like a handheld. And I think for this we're trying to crank up the graphics, like you were saying earlier, the 124 hertz, higher resolution,
right?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I see both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah,
I get it, but both are amazing chips.
Yes, and the 4-core iGPU, not that inspiring. Vega 8, Vega 10, those have been around for a long time. Obviously, even 4 cores of RDNA 3 is going to outperform that, but it's not all that exciting. And I would say even a 12-core iGPU, because we've been sitting right at that level with integrated graphics for quite some time, whether it's Intel Xe on the Intel side of things, or Ryzen, even going to the Ryzen 680M and 780M of some of the latest APUs on the mobile side, giving us, 12 GPU cores. I would love to see AMD double down on graphics performance first and foremost, especially in some handhelds, to be able to crank up settings a little bit more, to be able to not just use low settings, to be able to go to medium, maybe even high settings, 1080p graphics, OLED screens, and give us 16 or 20 cores of iGPU RDNA 3.
That would be great, because then you could dock it and then it would be just like your desktop PC essentially.
Right.
And then you take it mobile, and that's the whole point. And I think the cool thing too about these chips is they're claiming to be a lot lower wattage power consumption, which is a lot friendlier to the handheld device.
Yeah. No, the 5 nanometer chips that these are based on are certainly power efficient. The Z1 Extreme is saying to be roughly equivalent to an RTX 3050 desktop graphics card. That is not too shabby.
Not for a handheld.
And again, some of the interesting things are going to come in with what is the RAM utilization? Is it shared memory? Is it dedicated memory? Is it expandable? Is it dynamic? Because so many times in a lot of handhelds, even though I've got 16 gigs of DDR4 or DDR5 in some of these handhelds, they'll only allocate upwards of 3 gigs to the graphics, and it's shared. Now, it's a lot faster than it used to be. We're talking upwards of 4,800 megahertz for LPDDR5 and such. But if you're only giving me 3 gigs and you're expecting me to run at 1080p with some modern AAA games, that may not be enough. So how are they going to handle memory splitting between GPU, CPU, APU, IO die, everything else?
I never thought about. Yeah, that's a good thought.
So how much of the TDP comes from the iGPUs? It's really hard to say, because the analytics that a lot of the APUs have don't let you get that far into CPU versus GPU power draw. I will say, what I do on some of my handhelds is I have been disabling 2 processing cores or even 4 processing cores when I'm on battery. And also speed limiting my CPU cores. So my latest laptop has a Ryzen 6800U 8-core 16-thread with the Radeon 680M, which is essentially a 12 iGPU RDNA 2. When I'm on battery, I have been limiting my chip to 4 cores and 8 threads and 3.3 gigahertz. And saying, if you want to give everything to the GPU, you totally can. Which means, in most games, I can play at 1920 by 1200 on this particular handheld and still get like 3 hours of battery life. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah. The only other thing, though, and this was a thing that really started with the handheld devices for me. They're always saying that it's the Switch killer, all of that stuff. And now the Switch,
until it's $349, it's not a Switch killer.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They're saying the executives have not given us a price point on these chips. So they're just saying it's below $1,000, and so people are speculating $699, $799, $999 for the 2 variants.
Right.
Honestly, that's just the price of a desktop. I'm not going to pay that price for a portable desktop.
Right.
It's very cool. It's very novel, but you're talking the 1% of the PC consumer market still. It's a very, very cool niche item. Until, I think, if they made it dual purpose of saying, yes, this could be your desktop, they marketed toward that. And this, because that was the cool thing about the Switch. It was your, it was your portable console,
and it was your dock console. Right.
And your dock. Yeah, exactly. If they mimic this to state that it's Windows 11, it's your workstation, and when you're playing a game, you can just pull it off, Jeff having another beer or whatever, and continue playing your game. That's a niche thing, but they're not doing that market wise. And so I think there might be missing the mark there. I would love to have one of these, but I'm not going to pay $799. I'm not going to pay $699.
Yes, and that's the thing that a lot of the Raspberry Pi killers. God, I'm guilty of that today. For God's sakes.
I know you said that. It was like people $199. Like, no.
This is going to kill the Raspberry Pi. MSRP of $149. No, it's not. Well, no. Recently, sure. Yes, but and that's why I named my video that is stop buying Raspberry Pis for home server projects when x86 is over here at $150 to $175 with like 4 times the performance and way more built-in expandability. Oh, and it also comes with case, power supply, memory, storage, everything for the same price. So yeah, but it's not a Switch killer until it's $349 or lower. It's not a Raspberry Pi killer until it's a $35 PC. The reason that the Raspberry Pi and the Switch are there is because they're $199 and $35.